In progress.
Okay. Hi. My name is Febri Rio Cahyono. I'm student of the School of Business Management in SPM ITB. And today I would like to present one of the economical analysis about how to coordinating fiscal and monetary policy to support energy security, in particular in Indonesia. Well, uh, this presentation is uh, encompass about abstract introduction and what is the problem. And I would like to elaborate a little bit more about the policy evaluation in Indonesia, interest rate volatility, international coordination framework between the monetary and the policy, and then the Indonesian transition, fiscal and monetary constraint, and the net zero agenda, analytical summary, and then the last is about the recommendation, what I recommend to this case. First, actually, Indonesian security recently uh, updated by the current president. Now, Indonesia try to get the energy safe in terms of all the sector. So, what the challenge of Indonesia in terms of economic? First is about the reliable energy supply. So Indonesia suffers energy deficit since several decades ago, and then another challenge is about clean and sustainable resource because yeah, it's mentioned before that based on Paris agreement, we commit to deliver the clean and sustainable resources of energy. And then Indonesia also need to evaluate how the fiscal and monetary to be aligned to support the transitional goal that already set. And this presentation and this study case is focused on 10 years period since 2015 and 2025. Okay, as I explained before that Indonesia is part involved in the Paris Agreement on the 2015 that it leads to there's an urgency to Indonesia to have a transition from the fossil fuel to renewable energy, and then Indonesia as well to have to reduce the emission to maintain. Yeah, in other hand, Indonesian as well to maintain affordable and reliable energy. Is it also aligned with a government goal? That's one of them is the economic growth and the poverty. And in terms of the coordinating fiscal and monetary policy, it is important. It is really important the role to the directing capital flow, sapping energy pricing, and the mitigating microeconomic risks. And all of this presentation will be described and will be discussed about that. Okay, what is the problem in here? The problem is the during Indonesian transition, we have a dilemma. First, our fossil fuel is still more than 80% based on the primary energy. And then, in the other hand, Indonesia also commit to reduce the gas emission and the unhealthy energy for shift to renewables and efficient energy. That's contradicting the point that's now we were facing. And then what's the problem when we try to coordinating the policy between the monetary and fiscal? We have in here we we face the misalignment between the fiscal encompass like subsidize public investment and the monetary policy like interest rate and the liquidity. And we can highlight that the fiscal policy alone is not sufficient without low cost financial and monetary support market. So in this case, that the problem that I already stated before, we try to evaluate, we try to find out the solution. Okay, we talk a bit about literature review. We basically performed the review for several iteration. We tackle literature from the fiscal policy, energy transition, monetary policy, and energy investment, power of policy synchronization, and the last is about the coordinated policy Indonesia and energy security. We retrieve um, several indicators, several reference from the international reputable journal, Indonesian uh, publish a report officially, and several official reference. Okay, next we go to the topic. First, in terms of the evolution of the policy prioritize, we can look at the data from fuel subsidized and renewable investment in Indonesia since 10 years ago, since 2015 until 2024. If we look at uh, the renewable in the investment, we look at uh, increasing investment. Beside, if you look at it's not significant, but it is so the positive movement. But if you look at fuel subsidies, it is reducing a lot during 2019 and 2020 because you know why we had the COVID pandemic, COVID-19. That's why the subsidies is going low, and then again, it is increasing. It is significant enough during every year since 2021 until 2024. And we can highlight in here first, um, it is any commitment to reducing the fossil fuel subsidies. I know that the energy uh, sector, energy security, one of them factor is to try to reduce the import, but Indonesia now try to find the alternative that. And then we know as well that the Bank Indonesia put the lower interest rate and loosen liquidity requirement. And another point as well, there's a good initiative for investment in renewable, where it occurs in renewable mini grids and solar panel PV projects. And the last is about the evolution of the policy that we face as well about the policy uncertainty and financial bottlenecks constrain further growth. And then the next point is interest rate volatility and private investment barriers. So what we have in here, based on one of reputable journal, we put a mark that he said that while the central bank's green agenda is growing, certain interest rate hikes continue to distort long-term green asset pricing. So in here we can see that the the volatility of the interest rate. If you saw in here, we illustrate like ice break that the topest part of the ice is the high real interest rate deter investment. That's mean, yeah, we need the high cost to be invest for the renewable energy. And you can see, so for item and huge thing maybe forget about the the investment barrier. First is the monetary policy focus, and then the shallow capital market, which mean Indonesia market vulnerable to liquid shift, and then the last is soft-term credit outlook, credit market prioritize short-term gain. So when we saw that the Indonesian as well, the interest rate is still volatility, and it is also impact on like give the barrier for the private investment to be committed to invest in Indonesian market regarding the renewable energy. So this is some of the fact that we have to highlight in here. Next, we highlight about the lack of institution, coordination, and framework. In here, that institutionalists Indonesia, we have 5 years. Every 5 years, we conduct the president election and the execution on the executive selection as well. Start from the maybe from really bottom leader level up to very top level of Indonesia. That's mean we have potential that every 5 years we will have the different person to lead this government, and then we saw any lack of coordination between every single discipline, every single ministry, because if we talk about the framework of the energy, it's never stand alone. Energy always involves a lot of every single minister or every single institution, because the all institution and the energy itself is the basis of the country, of the nation. So if you like, if you look at that the illustration, we can it is consists of several points that contribute to lack of coordination in here. And first, we have the ad hoc coordination. So if we can, like a COVID, we can unite into one body, and then we go into one goal. In this case, is energy energy security and energy transition from the fuel to the green energy. That will be good. We can uh, we can build some of one of integrated institution or one integrated team collaborating work between all of the institution in the one goal. And then if you like, and here missing institutional rules, that means there's no uh, really built rules that every institution highlight about this energy security. And the next point, we can see that absent of the framework as well, it is missing because of there's no bold rule every institution, and there's no integrated policy under the and institution between that already ruled by the government. And then last is unsynchronized budgeting. That's why, because there's no element about the three of the point about we see that the budget in terms of the budget allocating by the government is not synchronized. So we can see that because of this, we can see that the institution of the government of Indonesia is the lack of coordination. Okay, next we face and we find some of challenge as well about the energy transition strategy. We can highlight. I already gather some of information and market summary into the this table and try to illustrate this problem into like a fishbone root cause. First, if we look at the area about the subsidized fossil fuel reformation, since 2015 until 2024, we got a major reduction in 2015. But if we uh, look at another benchmark, the EU, the European Union, already phased out since 2012. That's mean we are left behind. And the renewable investment trend, it is a moderate increase. I already showed to you the graphic, this increasing, but moderately, all this really low increasing. And then compared to the G1, G7 country, this the each of them already has a strong increasing under green recovery. And then the another point, if we look at the monetary policy alignment, yeah, it is there, but it's still intermittent and then reactive rather than a strategy. So strategies always regarded with the long term plan, bold role and integration between each institution. But if we look at the benchmark, like some of a country, like BRI, like Belt Road Initiative, they already coordinate via Green Finance Institution. Okay, and then last about the policy energy. If we look at Indonesia, Indonesia still weaken institution linkage. It is already mentioned again and again. Uh, the synergy the synergy between each institution is still weak. And if we look at the European Union or China, it is explicit. The climate macro framework already set, and they're really bold about this energy transition. If we look at all of the challenge in Indonesia, we got the four um, contribution factor. First is fossil fuel subsidy reform. Second is about the monetary policy alignment. Third is about the renewable investment trend. And the fourth is about policy synergy. And the all of that factor will be lead to the ineffective energy transition strategy because of what? Because of some of contributor like a only bold move, misalignment policy, lack of strategy planning, weak cross-sectoral coordination, fragmented government, inefficient funding, and maybe uncoordinated investment. So that's all. That's a challenge Indonesia about the how Indonesia strategy transition strategy challenge. Okay, next we also have the highlight about the fiscal dominance in terms of the monetary constraint. If we can compare between the fiscal and monetary, first in the fiscal dominance, it is several constraint appears for a policy effectiveness. And fiscal because of fiscal dominance, it's reduced the central bank credibility. On the other hand, the monetary independence, it is highlight the good if we look at the positive side, it will be enhanced policy effectiveness and the boost or improve a central bank credibility. So in this case, we have to highlight we find that the fiscal really dominance in Indonesia and some of monetary aspect has several constraints. Okay, next, we also found some of risk of asynchronous policy. We can look in here. First, if you can look on the right side and the left side, it is the asynchronous the policy. First, if you look at the conflict policy signal, and the right is unclear market signal to the policy mismatch. If we look at more detail, we can see the fiscal explanation, fiscal expansion. I mean, what the problem with this fiscal expansion? Because the government spending increased but stimulating demand. We we highlight that during the government spending the already increased every years, but the focus of the energy security as energy spending is not as reflect that fiscal expansion. And then monetary contracting, that's in here the bank central or the central bank, they reduce the money supply to curb inflation. And the last, we can see the investment deterrence, which means the long-term projects are discouraged by uncertainty. If we look at the several energy transition, it needs or it require a long-term commitment, long-term project. For example, for nuclear, for example, for the wind turbine, and for example, some of geothermal. It has never happened in one night. It's require the long-term investment. For example, it is at least for the really the shortest term is 3 years, 5 years, or maybe 5 years. For the like nuclear as well is around the 15 years. So that's why, because this several factors we found some of risks because the asynchronized the policy falls because of fiscal expansion is not to reflect the fiscal for policy for the renewable energy and the energy security, and then monetary contraction because now government focus of to tie supply some of the critical area, but beside of the energy security, but not synchronous well with the energy security focus. And the last is about investment in trends. So we understand that there's no commitment for long-term project in Indonesia. Okay, next we talk about the Indonesian net zero agenda. We understand that based on the Paris Agreement, Indonesia committed to have a net zero emission by 2060. It's really big dream and big goals from Indonesia government to achieve this target. And we face several challenges to get that goals, and we identify it here. The first challenge is about the policy coordination. We already discussed in the few past slide that it is really imperative lack of institutional framework in here. We don't have the clear framework about the policy, and we lack of coordination between each institution. And the next is about the carbonization, because we we look Indonesia is very slow about the industry transition from the fuel to the green energy, and we still have to very high gap about its transport infrastructure in here. And third, about the renewable investment. It's also, we already highlight in the previous slide that we have the insufficient funding and really limited and lack of investor confidence to invest in Indonesia. And next, about the energy intensity. Indonesia is really huge about the area, large, very animals area, and a really huge number of the population. That's why we facing the high energy consumption, and also we not in other hand we face another challenge about the inefficiency energy use in here. We need to defense or cope this all of the challenge to achieving net zero emission on 2060. It is uh, really fascinating goal and really a good or highest commitment that will be bring Indonesia in the good future. But it is really the government of Indonesia facing not easy challenges here. Okay, next. Okay, well, we uh finally go to the summary of my analytical in here. We already pointed some of finding based on this study regarding the monetary and fiscal coordinating for the energy security. Okay, first, we find that subsidy reform boosts fiscal space. What the implication of the subsidy, the reformation of subsidy in here? It is require monetary support. So it is again monetary support in here. It is really crucial. For what? To supply to for sustaining investment momentum, to gain the investor, to gain the investor confidence, to attract the international uh, investment. It is really crucial, the monetary support in here. Next, interest rate instability. You know why? This is because the long term private energy investment is not interested with this sector. That's, I mean, in this case, we can see that we need to more concerned about the interest rate. We need to make it stable. So that means our fiscal must be strong, and we need to have the commitment from the government. Okay, next. It is about the absence of coordination mechanism, cash comparison, so institutionalized. It is really a big problem because when the institution in the government not well coordinating, and there is no well mechanism that rule about this coordination, so it will implicate that the credibility of the Indonesia will be diminished, and it is weakening the transition to from the fuel energy to the green energy sector, and will be uh, it's one of the challenge for energy security goal. And the last, we highlight that the coordination improve the outcome. We can we can see that this coordination between each institution is bring brings the key role in here. And we try to illustrate this finding like the fishbone in before, because we try to highlight it once again in here, because we see that the key problem in here is the ineffective energy transition strategy. Because of what? Because first there's the intermittent policy coordination, lack of the coordination in here. We need to build long-term strategy policy in the front, not intermittent. And then in terms of the fiscal policy, we need to progressive fiscal reformation, and we need to fiscal political resistance. That in terms of the political will, Indonesian government needs to decide and or need to vote about the energy transition and energy security in here. And then if we look, we highlight as well about the institution framework in here. We see that government lack of institutional coordination and the absence of supportive monetary stand. That's we already discussed. So this is the summary based on the analytical of this study that we see about the Indonesian coordinating monetary and the fiscal. Okay, what we recommend to Indonesian government about all of the problem that we already find in the previous slide or the previous point. First, government shall create a fiscal monetary coordination body, like they could establish some of council or uh, like a COVID. We create some of uh, small but effective team to coordinate the situation. So it is similar with that. It is like a team to work together and align about the macro policy with energy goals and reduce fragmentation. So all institutions will be stand together, working together. Fiscal monetary will be aligned, and all of them will be facing one goal. Okay, next, it is also uh, integration the climate risk into monetary policy. It is really essential. And it is also required climate risk disclosure and to prioritize green climate risks. And in here, the central bank needs to prioritize the green asset. This will be lead to guide the capital toward the low carbon sector. And the next, in terms of the green final tools, it is needs to be strengthened, and it can be expanded to green bond, sustainability links to loans, and the concession credit lines to lower financing costs for energy. Um, eh, in here, we see that the finance tools it can also has the key element like a green ball, loans, and the credit for clean energy will be good for the energy security in here. And the next, reform climate budgeting, embed climate target into national budget, and align fiscal spending, monetary support, and energy transition. Number four is uh, more the action of the number one and number two. So the final action to do this actually is to perform the reformation about how we do budgeting in the national budget. We must including the climate target, and the fiscal spending with the monetary support. The focus really focus on the energy security and energy transition in here. Last but not least, we need to adopt the rule-based government implementation legal mandates for subsidy reform, green tax, incentive, and the public investment to ensure policy consistency and investor confidence. This means we adopt the rule-based government, the legal mandates. When the government commits and put the legal commitment in their body, so government will be run the commitment, so people will be support that, uh, whether you like it or no, the all element in this country will be united in the one mission to get energy security and energy transition. If you look at this uh, illustration, we go step by step that we can go to the final goal, coherent energy transition. To have the effective resilient transition, first we perform the policy framework gaps, and then we do institutional coordination. We we try to map the risk of integrated climate, and then we perform green financial instrument. We have the climate budget, integrated transition. The government itself try to rule best the implementation legally, and finally we have the energy security and a good energy transition in here. First, from framework gap analysis, every institution must be coordinating. We perform the climate risk into policy. We develop green financing instrumentation, integrated transition, international budget to national budget, APBN, and then government willingly and also political will implement the legally binding for transition framework. Okay, and the last, thank you for me. That's the my presentation. I hope this presentation will be give you an insight and uh, any some of useful knowledge that you can take away from this one. And my last, thank you very much. Bye bye.